How the recent language wars not only show up the divide that exists and is widening between North and South India, but also the regions amongst it. Why is Hindi being promoted as the lingua franca? What are the reasons behind it? And what are the reasons that one language for all is not an acceptable situation for the diversity that exists in India? Whenever we talk about language and understand language, basically it is seen as a system of communication. However, language is so much more than that. It is an identity with which you come from. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about language and how this is being taken as a point of contention across the country, which is splitting up the regions, and also what is the reason that Hindi is being trying to impose or it is necessary. We will also be looking into the reason that why one size fit all and similarly one language for all will not work in such a diverse country like India. So let us begin with understanding that why Hindi is being promoted, especially if you see the central government's tendency in one way or the other, in one policy or other, where promotion of Hindi is being pushed over across the nation. Because there has to be certain reasons why it is so important that Hindi is being given such due importance when we have multiple languages present across the country. And Hindi is not the only one. There are others. If you talk about Tamil, with such cultural history, with such cultural importance, then we have Marathi, multiple languages. What is the reason that Hindi is being specifically pushed for? So definitely the first reason we can understand is definitely in the terms of logic of numbers. What is that? So at present, tentatively 43 to 44% as per the last census 2011, people are Hindi speakers. Now the number is such that it will be easier to propagate this particular language. But at the same time, this would be ignoring or subduing other regional languages. For example, if we talk about multiple languages existing in Hindi heartland, be it Awadhi, be it Bhojpuri, all these have gradually diminished because of the Hindi dominance. And this effect can also be seen across the nation if Hindi further pushed for. Similar phenomena we have seen in terms of English also. When we talk about English, English is a language which is considered equivalent to job readiness. So यहाँ पे इंग्लिश का प्रमोशन जो है उसकी वजह से हमने अपनी नेटिव लैंग्वेजेस को खोते हुए देखा है और यहीं पे हिंदी का डोमिनेंस जो है उसकी वजह से भी हम रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस जो हैं उनका डिमिनिश होना देख रहे हैं. तो यहाँ पे आइडिया तो बहुत अच्छा है कि पॉपुलेशन जो है 43-44% ऑलरेडी हिंदी स्पीकिंग है. अगर हम और इंटीग्रेट करेंगे तो इट विल बिकम लिंगुआ फ्रैंका, बट the implementation will also result in cultural loss. When we are talking about language loss, we are also talking about identity loss for the population which is associated with the language. Now moving ahead, if we talk about center's logic, why the central government is pushing for Hindi being implemented across, second reason that comes up here is the fact that it will facilitate in national integration. Hindi is being viewed by them that it will facilitate as a link language across India, and if it becomes the link language तो यहाँ पे administrative uniformity भी आ जाएगी, states का communication जो है, union का communication जो है वो आसान हो जाएगा अगर हम यहाँ हिंदी use करने लगेंगे. But again it is missing out on the point that there are states which are not comfortable, which haven't been used to the usage of Hindi. They have their own language, and then there are multiple regional languages in those states as well. Other than that, there are other reasons that exist. For example, economic accessibility has also been highlighted, where if we are promoting Hindi, it has been seen that it will facilitate the governance and scheme और यहाँ पे inclusivity जो है ज़्यादा बढ़ेगी. इसके अलावा ये बात भी की गई है कि अगर हिंदी इम्प्लीमेंट होगी तो पॉपुलेशन का जो लॉजिक है, मैंने अभी बात की 44% ऑलमोस्ट है और यहाँ पे और लोगों को पहुंचाना आसान है. बट एट द कोर ऑफ इट लाइज दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वेयर दे हैव अ ब्रॉडर कल्चरल विजन कि एक नेशन की एक पर्टिकुलर आइडेंटिटी होनी चाहिए. एंड व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर विजन, this vision also belongs to a further broader vision where when we are talking about Hindi, it is the third largest language across the world. Even after that, we do not have recognition of the UN languages. There are 6 UN recognized languages. Tell me in the comment section which are the 6 languages which are recognized by UN and they are used in interpretation, communication, etc. But as of now, even after Hindi being the third largest, is not part of that list. So, if we are able to cultivate the nation and the identity with this certain languages, we also get the visibility at the global scale. Though this idea seems in terms of recognition, in terms of being part of or the leaders of the global order seems nice, but it has a cost to bear. We have to also understand that cost. So, here when I was talking about the reasons, अभी हमने सिर्फ ये समझा कि हिंदी को इम्पोज करने की बात क्यों की जा रही है, क्या इसके पीछे जो रीजंस हैं वो दिए जा रहे हैं, कितने सही है कितने गलत है, we will be talking about that. But at the same time, we also have to understand कि यहाँ पर हमारे constitutional provisions जो है language के regarding क्या है. तो यहाँ पे सबसे important बात अगर करें तो Constituent Assembly जब हमारा Constitution बना रही थी तो वहीं पर ये language war अगर मैं बोलूँ जो ये terminology है, this is not a recent phenomena, it had begun then. Because again, I would like to say language is not just a system of communication, it goes beyond, it is a cultural identity that it gives to the region, to the people. And because of that, when Hindi was being pushed in form of the national language back then as well, it was met with dissent. And that is when we see the provisions of multiple languages in our Schedule 8 as well. But what are the other provisions which protect the languages and definitely not place Hindi in a dominant position? If we talk about Article 344 and 351, these are the ones which promote Hindi, but at the same time you have to remember they safeguard other languages. The provisions are given such that definitely the idea of promotion of Hindi as lingua franca is existing there, but at the same time when we are talking about it being the only language has never been promoted, and the idea is being protected also, that the dominance of Hindi, that means leads to loss of other languages, has not been promoted. Other than that, if you talk about Article 343, Hindi in Devanagari script is the official language of the Union. But at the same time, I hope you know that because of the British rule we had, English was the language, and to facilitate the transfer, initially it was kept that the language of Union will be English, and gradually in 15 years, the facilitation to the Devanagari script would be done. But it is unfortunate that we have not been able to shed the foreign language and come to one of the languages of our Schedule 8. But at the same time, if we come to Hindi as a Devanagari script, as a language of communication, especially from the Union, language of the Union, that is also a mark that we are setting ourselves apart in terms of colonial identity. Other than that, we have Article 29 and 30 from the fundamental rights, where we find protection of linguistic minorities, where they can protect not just their language, they can develop their educational institution, academics, and make sure that their language thrives on. It is not going away with time. Other than that, as I mentioned, there is 8th schedule which recognizes 22 official languages, and Hindi is just one of them. So the idea, if we have to take the idea from the constitutional provision, I think it becomes clear here itself that the constitutional makers also understood the effect of the language, the importance of the language, and also understood that Hindi imposition is against the diversity that exists in India. Furthermore, other provisions are provided in terms of academics when we are talking, and administration as well. So there is Article 350A, 350B, which ensures education in mother tongue and also appoints special linguistic officers for linguistic minorities. Other than that, if we talk about official language rules which were introduced in 1976, This also has exemptions, especially for the state of Tamil Nadu, it has been exempted. That means there is still remembrance or understanding of the fact that Hindi is not going to work for everybody. We know the logics that if Hindi would be implemented or it comes out as a lingua franca, तो यहाँ पे क्या benefit हो सकता है, क्या rational है, that is okay. But यहाँ पे implementation क्या होना चाहिए, क्या हमारे constitutional makers जो हैं वो यहाँ पे हिंदी के promotion की बात कर रहे हैं, या फिर they also have balanced out कि yes, Hindi is the official language of communication for the union, but at the same time other languages must be safeguarded. So, यहाँ पे जो लैंग्वेज वॉर्स की अगर हम बात करें तो उनका जो जर्मिनेशन है वो इसी पॉइंट से है कि अगर हिंदी का प्रमोशन मीन्स लॉस ऑफ अदर लैंग्वेजेस, तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए एंड लैंग्वेज वॉर इज नॉट समथिंग न्यू इन इंडिया. तो अगर हम रीसेंट टाइम्स के इंसिडेंट की बात करें, आई विल कीप इट वेरी शॉर्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंसिडेंट. I will be taking just few years of incident. If we talk about states where we have seen the conflict, for example, if we talk about Tamil Nadu. Now, the conflict started again when new education policy, where it has the 3-language formula, it was opposed by the state, and it is one of the states which has not accepted this formula. Now, the center has gone ahead and warned them that they will not get the 2,000 crore funding if they are going to go ahead with the language war. And there is a political rift that is going in the name of language, because it is feared if the 3-language formula is implemented, it might lead to gradual loss of the regional languages, here Tamil specifically, and also it is being blamed that the language gap has been reason of the recent fatal train accident that we saw. It is not just one state who is going against this extreme Hindi imposition that we are seeing. If we talk about Karnataka, Karnataka has also implemented 60% of boards which will be just in Kannada language. There have been multiple bank controversies where the employees are refusing to talk in other languages, or the customers are speaking in certain languages and the employees are not able to understand. There have been multiple reissue of orders where Kannada has become the sole administrative language. Other than that, if we talk about Maharashtra, it has mandated that Hindi in schools should be rolled back. So, NEP brought Hindi in schools and it has been rolled back after the recent protest. There have been multiple assaults on people who are not speaking Marathi, and this is not something that is happening in just these 3 states. I have just taken the example of few states. It is happening in other states as well. A recent incident popped up in Uttar Pradesh as well, where it was a reverse language war where the person was asked to speak in Bhojpuri. And this basically shows the rift that we are creating, not just in people but in regions as well as states. It also further highlights the fact that we have to consider the idea that one language formula or Hindi imposition across the union will not work, even if it is being rolled out slowly, gradually, but it has to happen in a manner where it is organic, acceptable, and it is not leading to cultural loss. Now, we need to understand that why this implementation or imposition does not make sense, and we have to look into the other reasons as well. So, when we are talking about Hindi imposition, we have to understand that in India, Hindi, even though it is the largest population speaking language, 44%, there are 121 plus languages. There are 22 official ones which are mentioned in 8th schedule, and this kind of diversity is not present across the world. This is a unique situation that we have. It is only Africa which is parallel to such type of diversity. So, if we are imposing Hindi, that means we are going to wipe off this diversity and there will be dominance of one language, which will lead to barriers, which will also lead to rifts, which is already present. Furthermore, it will risk the cultural erosion. So if one language dominates, that means the regional languages will go away, which will take away the regional identity and the regional heritage, regional culture that comes with, literature that comes with, folklores that come with it, that all will be wiped away. One very good example that how culture is so much close with the language is the welcome of Prime Minister Modi back in Trinidad and Tobago by a Bhojpuri Chautal. Now, because the population is Indian diaspora, Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister has native roots from Bihar, Buxar. He was welcomed with Bhojpuri Chautal. So, Bihar is connected to Trinidad and Tobago through Bhojpuri as a language. And Hindi dominance is not just going to affect the languages in South, it is going to affect the language across the nation. And we have to keep this in mind. Now, other than that, there are more reasons associated to it, such as federalism will be undermined. So, if we are talking about one dominant language which will be imposed, it will be seen as a central overreach. That means the state's identity is being undermined. Other than that, it is also clearly a political weapon. As much as it is an issue of language, we cannot deny that it is being used, and it is as of now politically motivated as well. So once Hindi gains this dominance, it will be a tool for vote bank politics and also exclusion. So language will also become a criteria for discrimination and exclusion that we will be seeing. And furthermore, as we have seen in the recent incident, if a person does not know the language of the given state, they are facing barriers, exclusion, discrimination in real time. When we have so many languages, still those barriers exist. If there would be only one language, imagine the amount of real barrier that would be coming up. Accidents, miscommunication because of difference between language. Tamil Nadu accident I have just mentioned. So basically they show what is the risk associated with non-local language use. And this imposition creates, if this imposition happens, it creates multiple issues instead of addressing them. The idea of Hindi imposition definitely gives a national identity, but it will be taking away the cultural identity, and these aspects are making that very point. There will be losses that we will not be able to recover just in the name of coming together in form of national identity. So it really calls for understanding and balancing that act where Hindi is possible to grow organically, it should grow organically. Regional languages, other scheduled languages should also get the due importance. There should be facilitation to learn those state languages, and language should not be another reason for discrimination. Now moving ahead, because it becomes important, if we are not able to choose a side, if Hindi cannot become a lingua franca because of the reasons, and it is important that propagation of Hindi take place, what can be done? So definitely the idea here is that Hindi can grow organically, but at the same time it should not take away the due importance, the due heritage, the culture and the literature that comes associated with other languages as well. We have to keep in mind that we are encouraging functional multilingualism. We have to respect the constitutional balance that was made by our constitutional makers in terms of state and union powers, in terms of Hindi and other languages, and also focus on the language in education should be decided by proper democratic consultation. Furthermore, English can be promoted for global access. Regional languages should be focused on for identity, local pride, and wherever, as I have said, Hindi can be grown organically if possible, but the imposition is not the right thing, because we live in a democratic country where we have rights for our languages also, for our identity also, and it would be infringement of them. At the same time, I will leave you with the thought here. You can tell me in the comment section, what do you think about this particular thought where we are waging war in terms of language inside our country itself. It says that India's linguistic diversity is not a challenge to solve, rather it is something, it is a legacy that we should protect. So what do you think about this? That was all from my side. Thank you so much.